Hello, everyone. This is Jorge Diaz, president and founder of Larry Jacob Internet Marketing, and I'm bringing you another episode of Defining Infusionsoft Success. This week, I've got Adrian Savage. He's actually the person, I think you were number 2 in my series. We're at number 77, but you were one of the first ones that I interviewed long time ago, back when you were doing We Deliver. That was your thing. And I wanted to bring you back because back at PartnerCon, we had you had your booth, and it was about Invoice Sync, which was kind of new to me. So I thought, let's have you come back and tell us about that.
Perfect. And it's great to be back. And I just want to say kudos for getting so many episodes out in this. I mean, most people give up after maybe a dozen or two. And here we are, how many years on? 70 odd people that you've interviewed. That is pretty cool. So I'm really pleased to be back and seeing it going so well. And I know a lot of people talk about it as well. So that is absolutely brilliant.
Cool. And thank you for taking time out to do this. So, I mean, I know you, but why don't you kind of introduce yourself just a little bit so people know who you are and what you're about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been a geek since I was 8 years old. My dad brought one of the original Apple II computers home, and I started showing him how to use it. So I've been a geek for the last, what's that now? Getting on for nearly 40 years of my life. I'm 45 this year, so it's been a long time. So I've been in IT ever since I was a little kid. I did the whole go to school, get into corporate life, did all that. Escaped when I had a bit of a life-changing experience when my ex-wife moved to the other end of the UK with my kids. And that prompted me to change everything because my kids were everything. I had to see them. So that was when I got out of corporate. I kept my little geek head on me, but I started learning about sales and marketing. That's how I discovered Infusionsoft. So I became an Infusionsoft Certified Partner back when there were maybe no more than a dozen of us in the UK back then. This is it's pretty much 6 years this month, actually. 6 years since I flew over to Phoenix.
That's early on, though.
Yeah, absolutely. It was old enough that my Infusionsoft account has got a very, very weird name on it now. I couldn't choose it. They'd stopped letting you choose it, but it was a random collection of 3 letters and 5 numbers that really trips off the tongue. So that's kind of showing my age there. Back then you had to go to Arizona to do the certification, so I did all that. Went to my first InfusionCon back in 2012, and ever since then I've been doing Infusionsoft consulting, working with a lot of clients around the world. But then, as you mentioned, about 3.5 years ago, then I got into email deliverability almost by accident because I had a client that couldn't get their emails delivered by Infusionsoft. Came up with a solution called WeDeliver.email, which back in the day was very, very popular. It's still got some users now, but again, kudos to Infusionsoft. I think partly because of the fact that I had a product out there that was improving their deliverability. They rolled their sleeves up, they took on some extra guys in their team, built their email compliance team out, and they have absolutely raised the bar when it comes to deliverability now. So I haven't got much opportunity to sell WeDeliver anymore, and I was looking for another problem to solve, and that was when, very, very happily for me, Workato decided to put their prices up last year. So
who was that?
So Workato was the solution that Infusionsoft chose to link Infusionsoft up to Quickbooks online.
Right.
And up to, so Workato is a very well-established third-party company. If you imagine like Zapier, only kind of a lot more complicated, a lot more capable. You know, it's a bit like comparing, say, MailChimp with Infusionsoft. Zapier kind of does all the basics. Workato is this really complicated, clever synchronization engine that can pretty much connect any platform to any other. And it did a reasonable job, but it was complicated and it took a lot of setting up. And back in September last year, they raised their prices. When it started, it had been about $40, $50 a month, I think. But it culminated in September last year. They put their price up. So just to synchronize Infusionsoft with your accounting package, they wanted either $249 a month if you paid a year in advance, or $299 a month to synchronize Infusionsoft with QuickBooks or Xero.
Wow.
And that's more than most people pay for Infusionsoft.
Yeah.
There was a bit of an outcry. The good news is if people are already using it, then they didn't put those prices up, but it's pretty much, you know, any new person that wanted to synchronize, then they were put off right there just by the price. Me being a kind of problem-solving kind of guy, and the fact that we already use Workato ourselves and we had seen the challenges, and I just kind of woke up the next day, had this big light bulb appear above my head, rolled my sleeves up and started writing the code to actually do my own integration. And that's how all of this started. So
Cool. So you've got, so the Invoice Sync is a sync between Infusionsoft and either Xero or Quickbooks, right?
That's correct. Yeah. It all started, from a very selfish point of view, I started with Xero because that's what we use. Got that working, or at least got the basics working. And it was once I got the basics working that I actually put the message out there and said, hey guys, this is what I've done. Is anyone interested in finding out more and helping me, knock the bumps off it and make it work properly? And before I knew it, I was inundated with people getting in touch saying, yeah, this is exactly what I need. Can you help me? And we started working on it from there. And it was probably, like I said, it was 12 hours for me to actually prove that I could do it. And then probably within the next month, then the first kind of pre-release version of software came out that people started using properly.
So when was this? When did it come out?
So I guess it was probably by end of September, early October last year, because I think because PartnerCon was November, wasn't it? So I think it was
right.
Probably a couple of months by the time we got to PartnerCon.
Okay, so if I'm a user and I use either QuickBooks or Xero, then all of my invoices get synchronized over to the accounting system.
It's funny because it's probably the most boring software solution you'll ever come across because it doesn't do anything sexy, it doesn't do anything exciting, but on the other hand, it's probably going to save you a lot of time, a lot of heartache, and maybe a lot of fines from the revenue if you get your books wrong. So I think that's the most important thing. It's designed to get it exactly right. So whether you've got sales tax, whether you've got payment plans, whether you've got discounts, whether you've got shipping, anything like that is all taken care of out the box. So it is literally you put a few settings in. It takes maybe 5-10 minutes to set up at the most. And then you just leave it to run pretty much forever. It's set and forget. So the idea being that, like you said, every time you sell something inside Infusionsoft, if you do a manual order or an online order or something like that, then Invoice Sync comes along, it picks up that new order from Infusionsoft, takes all the details line by line, makes sure it matches, and then it just puts that exact same invoice into Xero or Quickbooks. So that way then every single time you've got a transaction going through your business, then it's automatically appearing in your bookkeeping system, so you don't have to do anything manually.
Okay, and then, I mean, the assumption is you've got your chart of accounts and there's some sort of mapping that's done on the accounting side, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, because you can either have it at a very simple level. Some people just put all their sales into one account code. Other people, they might have different products, different account codes. So we've got all that covered as well. So, pretty much however you want to set it up, then it just supports it pretty much out of the box now. The way I tended to do it was when we were working initially, there was people that were using Workato and they wanted to move it across. So the goal was to replicate anything that Workato could do. Then I made sure that Invoice Sync could do it the same way, pretty much.
Gotcha. So earlier you were showing me one of the configuration screens.
Yep.
Because it seems like it's pretty easy to build, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this was the idea behind it. Is if you've ever used either Workato or even Zapier for that matter, then you've got to go through a whole load of steps. You've got to build things out, and if you don't know exactly what you're doing, then it can get frustrating. It can take time. I didn't want any of that. I wanted not quite Xero configuration because you've got to put a few bits in there, but I wanted to make it as simple as possible. Probably the best bet is if I just quickly show what that looks like to give people an idea of how simple it is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, right, let's see if the technology works. Just going to wait for Zoom to pop up. It's running a bit slow for me today. I'm just getting the spinning circle at the moment. So there we go. That was a bit quicker. So here is one I prepared earlier. Hopefully you can just see the config screen come up now. I've X'd out my API keys for Xero so that that would probably be wouldn't want anyone grabbing those and putting a load of cash into my Xero. But this is my live setup that I'm sharing here, and as you can see, there's this kind of simple API config at the top where we're just putting some values in there, and then all we're putting in here is it's as simple as this. We're saying what account code do you want to use by default. So every single sale that goes through is going to go into my 200 code at the moment, and then you can set it up so that if you've got lots of products, then there's ways that you can actually have different products go to different codes, but this is the default. And then if you've got discounts, finance charges, shipping charges, anything like that, then you can actually put those into a different chart of accounts as well. So there's a bit of flexibility there. Then we've got payments, so we can also synchronize payments. So every time an invoice comes through and it's paid, then you can actually mark it as paid inside QuickBooks or Xero, so you don't even have to do that. I would a little thing for rounding, because sometimes if you've got multiple line items, you might be 1 cent or 1 penny out for some reason, so we can fix that. And then similarly, if you're making payment through PayPal, then you can specify a different place to record your PayPal transaction in Xero QuickBooks as well. So there's all these different things that you can set up there. Now, if anyone's watching from outside the US, this is going to be a bit more exciting for those guys than Americans, because in most cases in the US, you still manage to not have to charge sales tax. If you're particularly in the UK or Europe or Australia or a few other places, then you've got all these things like GST and VAT that you have to charge everyone. So we had to make sure that it handles all the sales taxes properly. So you can choose what to do with a taxable item, what to do with a non-taxable item. If someone gives a refund, what are you going to do with it? So all that's handled as well. And then you just decide whether when an invoice gets submitted into Xero, then is it going to be submitted? Is it in draft mode, or is it just fully automated and it's authorized? And literally, that's all there is to set up. So in most cases, if people know what their account codes are, this is going to take 5 minutes. Set all this, go and put synchronization on, and that's pretty much it.
Right. So the complexity is because accounting systems are complicated, but not because your mapping to it is complicated.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if you look at that, you might think, whoa, there's a lot to quickly specify there. But in most cases, then the customers I've worked with where I've actually gone through it step by step with them, they've already had those codes already. They've either known it themselves, or their accountant, their bookkeeper, they've told them this is what you need. And it is just really click, 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 click save, that's it, off you go. And that's the thing, there's nothing more to show than that. Other than that, it's like every time an invoice appears over here in Infusionsoft, then a few minutes later, maybe we do it every hour normally, then it's going to appear inside Xero QuickBooks as well. And it just works, it just matches. The only time we ever get any support requests are if there's any kind of, any weird use cases that people have come up with where we just haven't seen it before. And that's the only time really we get support requests. If we get anything like that, then we'll look at it. And if there's any way we can support it, we will. We haven't yet turned down any feature requests.
Good for you. Well, gosh, this was simpler than I thought. So it's a quicker episode, it seems.
Yeah, I think it is. It's one of those where it's like I said, it's not sexy, I'm afraid. I can't show any super cool things, anything like that. It's one of those where it does what it says on the tin, it syncs the invoices, and that's pretty much it. I think the only other interesting stuff is what's coming down the line that it's probably worth me mentioning quickly. One of the things that Workato has always done that we're about to release is what I'm calling it reverse synchronization. Of everything I've talked about so far has been going from Infusionsoft into Xero into QuickBooks Online. But some people, they might be making sales outside of Infusionsoft, and they want to be able to get a representation of all of their sales inside Infusionsoft, so they can do things like RFM analysis, they can trigger campaigns based on what people have bought, things like that. So what we're adding in now, we're literally releasing it in the next few days, ready for everyone with Xero, and we're not far away with QuickBooks Online, is the ability to synchronize back from the accounting package back into Infusionsoft. So again, whenever there's an invoice created there, it's going to be created inside Infusionsoft. So that's quite exciting, because that's going to give people a lot more ability to do things. And then there's one further thing that's coming down the line that I think is going to be a massive time saver, and that's for anyone that uses merchant accounts with their Infusionsoft. So if you take an example of, I don't know, Authorize.net or Stripe or eWay, or, depending, there's all kinds of different merchant providers, but they all work in slightly different ways, but they all tend to charge fees. So the problem that you've normally got is that you'll make the sale on a Monday and it might be $100. And then maybe on the Thursday, they'll deposit the payment into your bank account. Now that's great, we can cope with that. But Stripe's probably the best example, where they don't just do that. With Stripe, it's a 7-day delay before you get the money. But supposing you make 5 sales on the Monday, the following Monday, they will put the sum total of all those sales into your account, into your bank account in one go, and they deduct their transaction fees before that actually gets to you. So then it becomes a right royal pain, because you've got to go through Xero QuickBooks, you've got to start reconciling all these entries up.
Right.
And because it actually matches, it becomes a real difficult job, because you've got to work out, well, this one was $100 and they've taken $3 in fees. This one was $200, they've taken $5 in fees. Before you get a line at a time, the calculator's coming out, you're trying to fix it, and that's difficult. So what I've done with Stripe, and this is going to be coming, probably a few weeks away with this, and then the plan to do the same thing for Authorize.net, eWay, StagePay, anything else we can, is to take an API feed from Stripe, and we actually incorporate the fees from Stripe so that when we record something that's paid in Xero or Quickbooks, firstly we'll record the payment. So supposing they buy on the Monday, we'll mark it as paid. But if we know that it's Stripe and we know that Stripe is going to pay us 7 days from now, we'll mark the payment date as 7 days into the future. And then in what's called a clearing account inside Xero, then we'll actually record the fee as well. So that way,
so that can be like recorded as an expense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea being that supposing we've sold, I don't know, $1,000 on the Monday, and then the following Monday, Stripe's going to give us $953, which is the total minus the fees.
Right.
Then because we've actually put all the fees and the revenue and everything into one clearing account inside Xero, all you've got to do when the money comes in is say, right, I've got this payment from Stripe on this day, and that just happens to match the total of the transaction of those days inside Xero. Suddenly then, what might take a bookkeeper hours and hours and hours every month to reconcile everything, that's going to become a thing of the past. And that's something that I'm really excited about. Again, I did it from a selfish point of view because my bookkeeper was being driven nuts by this stuff, because we're doing, we deliver, we're still getting maybe 70, 80 transactions a month, and that was a manual job. So again, we've automated that process, and when that comes out, that's going to be a massive time saver. That's something I'm really looking forward to sharing with people.
Oh, I bet. Well, so Adrian, if anybody wants to get more information on this, how can they reach you?
So very, very simple. Then I always love to be contacted on Facebook. So if anyone wants to ping me a message on there, then it's just facebook.com/Adrian Savage. If people want to check out Invoice Sync, then just go to invoicesync.net. And what I've got, anyone who's watching this particular episode, then I've got a special offer as well, where normally I'll offer it where you pay for the first month, and I'll always offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if it doesn't do what you want, if you're not happy, I'll always refund it. But for people that know you, people that are watching this, then if you go to invoicesync.net/30 days, so the number 30 and then the word days, then I've got a special offer there where you sign up, you pay nothing for the first 30 days, get it working. Then if you're all happy, then we'll charge your card after a month, and then you've got it. An extra reason, you can try it out, no risk whatsoever. See if it works. If it doesn't do what you want, then please tell me, because we can probably make it do what you want. It really is one of those things that it just works.
Good. Well, Adrian, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, and I'm sure our listeners will enjoy knowing one more thing.
Yeah, definitely. And as always, thanks for inviting me back, and thanks for having such a great resource for Infusionsoft people. I just think this is absolutely brilliant.
Cool. Take care.
Thanks, George.